Happy Memorial Day weekend and welcome to episode 299 of the Working Fans Podcast. We have a lot to talk about this week, but as always, please, if you enjoy what you're seeing, hit that subscribe button, hit that share button, and we're going to talk about the debut of JC Mateo.
Yes.
I had noticed that they hadn't really said his name at the pay-per-view, and I wasn't expecting there to be a name change. What did you make of this when we heard it on SmackDown?
So first thing they said on SmackDown was Solo called him JC. That's what I heard was JC. And I thought, all right, Jeff Cobb. And I thought, well, maybe he's going to be JC Jeff Cobb or something like that. You know, kind of like AA Arn Anderson. And I'm like, all right, a little weird, but I can get used to that. And then the match happens when Elliot Nateland showed. It's like JC Mateo. And I'm like, what? You know, like, what? Where the fuck did they get that? And I'm like, is this like a tribute to like Lucha Underground, like Matanza or whatever? You know, it's like, it's close, Mateo, you know? So I don't know where they came up with this fucking name. I don't know why it was necessary. I don't know why they had him wrestle in a black t-shirt with jeans. I thought that was very generic looking. And after a great debut at the pay-per-view, this was not a great follow-up. So, yeah, I was not happy with this. I don't know how WWE does this. Like, honestly, right, we've seen people get to keep their real names now, right? Tama Tonga, Tongaloa, people in the actual group. But in some people, it's like, nah, you JC Mateo, baby, get over here. It's like, how does this happen?
Do you think it's the level of star that they perceive the wrestler at?
Possible. If that's the case, that could work either way. They could think that he's a talent and they could be worried about it. They want to keep everything, you know, under their umbrella and own it. But given the way they debuted him, I almost wonder if they're not quite sure about this and they're going to repackage him down the road at some point. I don't know. This was far from a home run. This was not even a base hit.
Yeah, I was very thrown off by it as well.
Yeah.
I hope they come around with it. The guy is a great talent. He's in a great group, so it's going to be kind of hard for him not to succeed. But this is definitely a roadblock in that.
Yeah, a roadblock.
We are going from JC Mateo to talking about this weekend's WWE NXT Battleground. Do you have that card pulled up? And let's make some predictions.
I do. I have the matches as it stands now of recording. And I'm going to start with Tony D'Angelo versus Shannon Stacks Lorenzo. It's just a grudge match. I'm going to go with Stacks here because I feel like he's the guy they're going to start to push out of it.
Yeah, I'm going with Stacks as well. And I think the real story is going to be, how is Tony going to recover from losing to Stacks? And where does that leave the D'Angelo family?
Next one, Joe Hendry versus Trick Williams, the TNA World Championship being defended on Battleground. I'm going to go with the upset. I'm going to go with the shocker. I'm going to say Tricky Williams ends up with the gold here. And I'm going to say this because I think at some point Joe's going to be debuting for WWE sooner than later. I don't think it'll be right after this, but I think this is a way to kind of transition this.
I would love for Trick Williams to win. I think that would be a great story coming out of this, that an NXT talent on an NXT show won that TNA championship. But my heart tells me that Joe Hendry's going to get that win and retain.
You're probably right. I'm feeling like upsets this weekend, so I'm going to go with another one. Jordan Grace, Stephanie McClure, NXT Women's Championship. I'm going Jordan Grace. I'm going to say she's going to walk out NXT Championship, and we're going to make a big splash. I also think Stephanie's going to be going up to the main roster sooner than later.
I want to dispute that. I want to pick Stephanie McClure, saying that, you know, she's going to be that solid women's champion in NXT. But I feel like Jordan Grace is taking that title. And I agree with you. Stephanie McClure is moving up to something in WWE.
They already had Julia on SmackDown this week, and Stephanie's made a few appearances. I think there's a reason for this. We're moving some people up. That being said, I will not pick the upset here. I think it was an upset he even got on this, and I love that he's on this. But Miles Bourne versus Obafemi for the NXT World Championship. I got to go Obafemi here. I don't think Miles Bourne is going to pull this big of an upset off.
Yeah, this is going to be a good match, but Obafemi is going to retain, and then we're going to see who the next one to step up to that NXT Championship will be. We're going to go from NXT Battleground to an interesting comparison that Dave put up last week. Arn Anderson, JBL, considered two of the toughest guys in the ring. I mean, I was going to ask who would you pick, but I feel like AA is a lockdown in this pick.
In a fight? Yeah, I like Double A in a fight. I mean, you never know in a real fight, I guess. JBL's big boy. But yeah, wrestler versus wrestler. Look, the reason why I thought JBL matched up well with Anderson was because I think he was a very underrated heel. Great heel heat, great feud with Eddie Guerrero. He obviously was fortunate enough, right time, right place to be WWE champion. I don't say that with disrespect. I'm just saying Anderson never seemed to be put in that position, and he probably should have been. Whether it was WWE, whether it was NWA, whether it was WCW, Double A was definitely world championship material. But if you're lining these up and you're comparing these two, it's interesting, right? Because I feel like Double A and JBL was a great heel promo, but is he a better promo than Anderson? No. You know what I mean? Is JBL a great brawler? Absolutely. Is he a better brawler than Anderson? I don't know. Is he a better in-ring wrestler than Double A? Nope. So as much as I like JBL, he's won the world title. He loves wrestling. At the end of the day, I got to go with, the backbone of the Four Horsemen, Double A, Arn Anderson.
100%. And Arn Anderson was always good for holding those, mid-card titles, but never got the big one. And it's a shame because, such a wrestling mind. He was an agent in WWE forever, then went on to work with AEW, well respected in the business. JBL, while a good wrestler and while he was able to hold that top spot, I don't know if he holds necessarily the respect that Double A does. I'm just a Four Horseman Double A mark, so I got to pick Arn Anderson. And we have not one, but two cards this weekend.
Yes.
AEW Double or Nothing. As of the time we are recording this, we know that Tony Khan is always good for adding those last minute matches, but we're going to give you some predictions on the already announced matches. Dave, how's that card look?
So it's funny. I was just going to say, with Battleground, there's 4 matches right now. I expect one more to be added. With AEW Double or Nothing, I have 5 matches right now. I expect 7 more to be added. So,
100%.
Let's start off with a nice one here. FTR, Castro and Dax Harwood versus Daniel Garcia and Nigel McGuinness. I love that Nigel's coming back for this. This should be a really fun match. I got to go with the everyday tag team, FTR. They've been doing big things to get their heel heat lately, whether it's taking out Copeland, whether it's threatening Shivani. I say they're going to get a run and eventually going to end up with a tag title somehow.
Yeah, I also love that Nigel is stepping in for a match. It's kind of a shame because FTR is such a good team, and it feels like, they've kind of been, I haven't watched the newest Dynamite, but FTR almost feels like they're in the back burner where they were from where they started, and I've got to pick FTR in this, and I'm excited to see, hopefully they go on towards those tag titles, maybe it all in.
Tony Storm versus Mina Shakara. Mina just got a win over Tony in a 4-way title eliminator match. So this is for the AEW Women's Championship. Tony will be putting the championship on the line. I think this will be a good match, but I still think it's Tony time, right?
Yeah, Mina is a good wrestler, but Tony is just such a hot property in AEW that it's why take the title off of her? I still feel like if there's one member of their roster that could step up and take that title off of Tony, I really feel like it's Megan Bayne, and I just wonder how they get back there to do it. So I'm picking Tony Storm as well.
This is one that I'm going to give you a prediction, and then I'm going to give you why that prediction could be wrong. The Hurt Syndicate defending the tag team championships against the Sons of Texas, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara. I'm going to go Hurt Syndicate. By the way, Sammy and Dustin are the Ring of Honor tag champions. Dustin is also part of the 6-man champions with Von Erichs. But I think the Hurt Syndicate should win this. I'm going to throw a conspiracy theory, though, for you. MJF ends up costing the Hurt Syndicate the tag titles here, whether on purpose or not. Dustin and Sammy get a run. They end up defending it against FTR. And then Max will help FTR get the win on purpose. Maybe even Sammy will turn on Dustin. But ultimately, I see MJF and FTR joining forces again. And you never know. Sammy was, I think, running with MJF at one point too. I think we're going to see some old friends reunited at some point, possibly in the future. Gun to my head, I got to go the Hurt Syndicate.
I know if I'm picking with my heart, I'm saying Hurt Syndicate, but I love that scenario that you laid out. I hope Tony Khan's thinking that far in advance and we see this story continue forward.
Women's Owen Hart Foundation Tournament Final. Jamie Hayter versus Mercedes Moné. Mercedes has been on fire. Jamie Hayter's been on fire lately since coming back. Winner of this is going to get a shot at Tony Storm at AEW All In. So what's the bigger match? I feel like it's got to be Mercedes, right? As long as she has the TBS championship and she hasn't lost, I think we do that. I think it's got to be Mercedes and Tony Storm. I won't be shocked if Hayter wins, but I'm going to go Mercedes.
Yeah, when you're talking bigger match, I feel like Mercedes versus Toni Storm is the biggest match. If you want to talk about like the bigger AEW match where kind of both women came up in AEW, Jamie Hayter would be the one to put up against Toni because Jamie was out for so long after that injury and she had gotten so much momentum up till that time. It's really a coin flip, but I feel like if you're talking bigger match, it's got to be Mercedes.
And this is the main event as of right now. There's no world title match currently. We got Hangman Adam Page versus Will Ospreay, the men's Owen Hart Foundation Cup tournament final. I like this matchup. I feel it's a coin flip. Either one of these guys could be the guy to challenge Jon Moxley at AEW All In. But I'm going to say it's Will Ospreay. I'm going to say, even though Hangman Page could be the bigger story, I can't help but think him and MJF have crossed paths a few times. Maybe there's going to be something there, and there's going to be something else for Hangman, and he's going to have to wait for his turn. And Ospreay has never wrestled Moxley, to my knowledge, at least in an AEW ring. So I think that'll be the bigger matchup.
Yeah, it would be great to see Hangman do this. There was a while where I was getting tired of Hangman in AEW, and then I feel like that feud with Swerve kind of reignited my interest in him. I would love to see him win this and go back up for that title, but Ospreay has just been on more than on fire since getting to AEW, and him going up for the title feels like that big all-in match that we'd be expecting. Ospreay wins the title there. Maybe we see the end of the Death Riders, or the whole Death Riders thing could change after that. But I am picking Will Ospreay as well. And those are our picks for now on AEW Double or Nothing. As always, matches get added last minute. Maybe pay attention to our social media. Maybe we'll record something again. But the main event of today's show, and we were talking Sabu last week, and I was trying to think who could be a modern equivalent of Sabu, or somebody you could even put up. And I was thinking Sabu, Darby Allin, it's not even who's a better wrestler, because I feel like the main attraction with these two is the amount of danger they put their body in and the risks they would go to. I'm going to say, who's your favorite Daredevil wrestler between these two? I think that's the best way to frame it. And Dave, would you pick the classic, the Indie Hall of Famer Sabu, or would you pick the modern madman Darby Allin?
Right now, I'd pick Sabu. Darby's got plenty of his career left, though. So Sabu, he's the original, right? You know, he's the guy I read about in magazines and I saw on old VHS tapes and eventually saw on ECW and TNN. And so for that, there's a special fondness for Sabu and his look, his presentation, how committed he was to his gimmick. But man, Darby's every bit of that. Darby's every bit of that, committed to his gimmick. Darby's every bit as crazy. Darby in real life is like, climbing Mount Everest here. So it's kind of hard to say that one's a bigger daredevil than the other, but right now, my favorite, I'll go with old school. I'll go with Sabu, because I'm an old man. I'm going to be 49 at the end of the year, so I'm respecting my elders.
Yeah, it's hard not to pick Sabu. And like you said, Sabu, obviously now his whole career is behind him. He left quite a body of work. Darby Allin has made some noise very early in his career. We've seen some crazy stunts out of him. But like you said, there's more years to go. Yes. And we're of an age where we've watched so much Sabu that it's hard not to pick Sabu over Darby Allin. Maybe if you're a younger fan watching, you're thinking, oh, Darby's great. I mean, I've seen some Sabu matches, but I kind of think it's all like where you're going to place age-wise.
Yeah.
And fans, that was our big Memorial Day show. Next week, we're coming back with episode 300. We'll be talking Sabu's last match. Maybe we'll have 10 worst tag teams for you. Obviously, we'll be reviewing the events from this week. But we want to say thank you for joining us. And please, if you enjoyed what you saw here today, please hit that subscribe button, hit that share button. And we're going to share some great authors that we've had the privilege to work with. Author Ray Lopez presents Lockup, Professional Wrestling in Our World. Lockup dives headfirst into the colorful world of professional wrestling. Explore the iconic characters, careers, matches, history, and families, and delve into the bizarre and fascinating entwining of professional wrestling and film, television, football, politics, gender, and race. Pre-orders are available now on Amazon.com or at MascotBooks.com. This is the perfect gift for the wrestling fan in your life. Pick up a copy today on Amazon.com or at MascotBooks.com.
wrestling fans out there, listen, Old Black Bart has got a book. It's called Wrestle Black Bart. It's got some dadgum good stories in there about some dadgum good wrestlers.
Read stories of Dusty Rhodes, the Von Erich, Scott Casey, Sergeant Slaughter, Roddy Piper, Mr. Fuji, Ron Bass, Bruiser Brody, Mike Davis, the Grappler, and many others.
And I guarantee you one thing, that it'll be the best dadgum read you've had in a long, long time.
Get your book today at Russellville.com or on Amazon. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.
Hey fans, it's the man they call Dave with producer Joe, and you probably know us as the commentary team for New Heights Pro Wrestling, but when we're not doing that, we got a podcast.
That is the Working Fans Podcast, where we talk pro wrestling, comedy, MMA, and so much more.
And tell them about that signature segment.
Oh, you talk about the 531?
You know I am.
That is a homegrown creation that has been our namesake. And if you want to know our namesake, we got Chevy, AJ Strange Brew, as well as the two of us.
And why don't you go to our channel, like, subscribe, show us some love.
Rate, review, all of it.
Read about the Northern Wrestling Federation in the book presented by Russellville.com, The Pro Wrestling Vault, Volume 2. Hear the story of Roger Ruffin, the man who trained Carl Anderson, the Monster Abyss, Jordan Clearwater, Chris Harris, and Jillian Hall.
Plus 45 other short stories, including Jazz, Bobby Eaton, Kamala, Thunder Rosa, Mario Mancini, Scott Casey, PJ Black, Kerry Morton, Sal Renaro, Jeremiah Plunkett, Colby Carino, Bam Bam Malone, and many others.
Get your book today at Russellville.com. Russellville, it's where wrestling lives.